Hey, good morning. We're gonna let a few people get joined here in a minute, and we'll get started shortly. Here they come. Usually I have music playing, but I got caught up this morning.
What? No music?
Normally I have. So I'm letting people in. Good morning, everyone. Just give us a few minutes. We'll let everybody in, and then we'll get started. Tell you what, people, I'll get started about 9:03 to give everybody enough time, and then I'll let people in as they join us. I'm going to open up the chat, so if you have any questions, you'll be able to. I'll monitor the chat. Oh my gosh. 1 second. I didn't ask you if you could share your screen, can you?
Let us see. It says that sharing is not turned on, so I'm gonna send the request.
All right, allow. I just
Okay.
allowed it.
All right. Try it again. Okay. Guys see that?
The yes, yes, we can
Okay.
see it. Can all of you see
Perfect.
it? The people that have joined us, can you all see it? Somebody say something or give me a thumbs up or something like that, just to make sure. Sometimes people are driving in and
Mm-hmm.
listening.
Yeah, as long as you can see it, I'm good with that. I don't see the chat anymore though, so I don't know.
Uh, okay, hold on. Let me get this straight.
Or if you want to just tell me when there's anything in the chat,
Yeah,
we'll do it like that.
I'll monitor the chat, but I'm gonna open it up.
Okay.
All right. Then more people are coming in. So, yeah. Hey, good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming back after a couple of weeks off. We had to change over all our Zoom accounts, so I wasn't able to hold these morning sessions. I'm glad you guys are joining us. And today we're going to be talking about, do you really understand how happy your customers are, customer satisfaction? And I'll let Miss McGee introduce herself, and we'll go ahead and get started. And I'll monitor the chat, okay?
Perfect. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. And good morning, everybody. I just want to start by, welcoming everyone and thanking you guys for being on time. I really appreciate it. And for this opportunity to discuss a topic that's really near and dear to my heart. As Mark said, my name is Ambika McGee, and the name of my firm is AFJ Consulting. My company really works mainly with corporate teams and city agencies to help them make sense of the feedback data. And we typically use a lot of the same tools that we are going to discuss today. The work that we do at my company lives at the intersection of research and insights, government contracting, and training. And I've been in business since 2019. Prior to that, I spent 15 years working for a global government contracting firm where I led their research and consumer efforts. And so, yeah, research has been a part of my life for a very long time, and I'm excited to share some tips and tricks with you guys. So this slide really just outlines the topics that we're gonna cover today. I know it may seem like a lot, but it's not. We'll spend some time kind of reviewing some of these topics at a really high level and then go deeper into some other ones. So we'll start by exploring why research is critical for small businesses, or small business success rather, followed by a high-level overview of both types of research, primary and secondary. Next, after that, we'll review some practical toolkits tailored to each research type, including free research tools and low-cost resources. After that, we'll discuss how to choose the right tools for your business questions and introduce a simple, actionable research plan to help you get started. Finally, we'll summarize key takeaways and open the floor for any questions and discussion that you guys want to hone in on. Because I really want to ensure that at the end of this hour together, you guys are leaving with a practical tool or method that you can apply immediately to help you grow your business. So why does research matter? I feel like research matters for several different reasons, right? Doing research allows you to collect information and reduce the guesswork. I cannot tell you how many times I've met with leaders of really big corporations that will sit there and tell me, oh, we don't do any research. I just kind of go with my gut. Okay, well, you go with your gut, sir. But I feel like doing a little bit of research can actually help you, not necessarily. And it's not to say that your gut reaction can't be wrong, but doing some research can just add some fodder to whether your gut is on the right track or not. I also think that doing research really helps to improve customer satisfaction. I think we live in a day and age now where most customers are really happy to share their thoughts with you. All you have to do is ask. So why not leverage their openness to giving you feedback by not doing something to gather it? Research also helps to support smarter business decisions, like I mentioned with my CEOs that don't do any research. It also can help to identify new growth opportunities and areas of innovation. Maybe there's a product or service offering that it's not even on your radar, but your customers are wanting it or hoping that you offer it. And so doing research can help to open that door for you. And lastly, it helps to allow you to compete more effectively. I think that we live in a day and age now where people's disposable income is really under a lot of pressure. And so it doesn't take much for them to stop spending money with you and go to your competitor. And so being able to keep them happy, keep your business at the forefront of where they want to spend their dollar is really, really important. Because no matter what research option you do, I think that it helps businesses avoid costly mistakes. And a lot of the times, our businesses, our small businesses, our minority businesses, our women-owned businesses, we don't have the income or the resources to just be able to bounce back easily from mistakes. So, let's see what we can do to prevent them from the beginning. So in terms of research, there's two main types that we'll talk about today. Desk research, which a lot of people also refer to as secondary research, is really research where you're leveraging feedback that already exists somewhere in the world. So I'm going to start with going a little deeper into desk research. So again, what is desk research? Desk research is when you're taking data that already exists and you're using it to support your goal, your need, right? So examples of this would be Google reviews, using competitor reviews to help answer or address a topic or a situation that you want to gather more information on. Same thing with social media scraping, taking some of the feedback that people are posting on your social media platforms to just help you understand what their thoughts are around a topic and any trends that may be popping up. I think the main thing with secondary research, although I love the fact that it's in most instances free because you're leveraging information that already exists. The key though is that you've got to know that it's coming from a trusted source. I feel like, back in the day when, I was growing up, the trusted sources were encyclopedias or periodicals that were like Wall Street Journal or whatever, what have you. That was seen as like the trusted source of information. If you got it from there, you didn't have to worry about whether or not it was true or not. Not so much the case anymore. There's a lot of foolishness that exists on the internet and out in the world right now, so you really have to be careful that what you're leveraging is really the truth or at least valuable to what you're trying to explore. But there's still lots of good resources out there, even with all the foolishness that exists. Resources like the small business centers, SBDCs, they've got a lot of resources that allow you to understand what might be true in a market and help you with your research question. US Census data, there's a lot of data that's collected with the census every 10 years. I tell you now, it is not the easiest platform to maneuver to make sense of the data, but Data USA is a census-based platform that allows you to make sense of the data. So just know that with desk research, there's a lot of information that exists. Make sure it's credible in leveraging it, but it's free. So definitely tap into it if you can. So here's a desk research toolkit, a nice table that we put together to just highlight lots of sources for secondary research. I've listed these in order of maybe accessibility, where the most accessible options are listed at the top of the table, and then the options that are a little bit more advanced, let's say, are at the bottom of the table. So just know that any table that we see today will be listed from accessibility order from most accessible to least accessible at the bottom. And I've put a little, I guess it's a sun, star, I don't really know, a little indicator as well as a highlight next to the options that I feel like are really, really, I'm hearing an echo. Do you guys hear that?
I don't, I don't hear one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just my headset. But getting back to this, I've listed a few options here that I feel like are really important for leveraging secondary research. The first one and my favorite is definitely Google reviews. And literally, this is just logging into Google. If you have a business profile on Google that you set up through Google Console, then you'll have the ability to have your customers leave reviews on your company, on your website, on Google. So I feel like Google reviews are a great way to collect feedback and just get a quick pulse as to what your customers are thinking and saying about you. I know sometimes it can be hard when you expect that everyone's going to leave a 5-star review, and that's not always the case. Sometimes there's ones or threes or whatever in there, but all data, all information is valuable. And even with those 1-star reviews, that could actually represent an opportunity for you to go in and address that customer's low feedback and in a positive way so that then they flip what they believe to be true about your service or your company and now become a really loyal long-term customer. So I love Google reviews for that. Another way to do secondary research is to tap into your customers' reviews, whether that's on Google or Yelp or what have you. Learn from what people are saying is an issue or a complaint about your customer to ensure that you don't do that same thing. You do the opposite, right? So you're leveraging that information to make sure that your company now is performing at a higher level. Great information that comes from doing some secondary research. Another secondary research tool that I feel like would be valuable for small businesses is leveraging social media comments. I know that most of us have multiple platforms that we're leveraging for social media, whether that's, I use LinkedIn a lot. I know people are on YouTube, on Facebook, on Threads, all that. So for that reason, because we all have multiple platforms that we're leveraging, social media wise, I recommend Zoho Social as a tool because what it does is when you open up your Zoho Social account, as a small business owner, you can actually log in or attach up to 6 different channels to your single account and see all of the reviews, all of the feedback on all 6 of those channels in one place. So you don't have to log into Instagram to see what's going on there or log into Facebook to see what's going on there. You log into your Zoho Social and it gives you a collective view of all of your customer questions and concerns in one place. So that way you can see what's going on and also address them right there inside of Zoho Social. And then lastly, in terms of desk research that I feel like small business owners can leverage that is free, that is a free resource. Resource is small business development centers. And so I'm actually going to spend a little bit more time there because I feel like this is such an underutilized source. I remember this must have been during COVID. I had a friend and colleague reach out to me because her and her partner were interested in figuring out the best market for this new product that they were going to offer, that they were going to, develop and sell. And for me to do that research for her was going to cost a lot of money because most of the time the research that we do in my company is based off of um, like really large scale versions of the projects that we're talking about. So thousands of people answering a survey or a couple hundred interviews, that type of thing. And so I suggested that they check out the SBDC to get that level of information because SBDC resources are tailored to your industry, your location. They're based off of census data and a lot of other sources that are free. And so they were able to reach out to the SBDC office. I think it was one in Kennesaw. I don't remember, and get so many resources that allowed them to then take it and launch the product. And so, yeah, I definitely think that SBDC resources are a great way to start before anybody would work with like a company like mine, where we're talking, really large scale versions of these projects. So those were the main types of desk research that I feel like small business owners could really leverage. Let's say that you've conducted some desk research and learned a lot, right? But still don't have all of the answers to the questions that are really important for you to grow your business. Or, as in the case of what happens to me and the research that we do a lot, is that we do the desk research, we get answers to the questions that we had, but there's now new questions that have popped up because of what we've learned in the desk research. And so this is where the primary research comes into play. And there's, like I said, it's not going to be a test or anything like that at the end of this, but primary research is named that because it's new research. It's new research that you're doing to collect information that didn't exist before. And so I feel like there is a place for primary research, but after desk research is done, because there's a lot of data that already exists. So when it comes to primary research, there's 2 main types that most of us are familiar with. The first is qualitative research, and qualitative research is all about answering the why. Like, why did this customer pick this product or pick this option instead of another one? Or why did they, what did they like about this one and dislike about another one. Like it's all about answering the why, because what you want to do in a qualitative research offering is have a set of questions that you ask that are all the same so that you allow room and space for your people that you're interviewing to answer differently. So in qualitative research, most of the time we're leveraging a one-on-one interview with a consumer or a key client, or we're doing a focus group. And so with that, I would say that for the way that we do customer interviews, like we pay people to come in and give us all this information. Small business owners don't necessarily have to do that. Like if you know that you have a customer that's really loyal to your business and has really, been consistent in how they work with you or leverage your product or service, ask them if they would be interested in giving their feedback. And the same thing with the focus group. Like if you know that you've got a key group of even family members that have experienced your product or service and you want to get their feedback, list out a few standard questions that you want to ask and get them together over coffee or in a, low stress setting to provide that feedback. And again, the feedback could be as simple as what product or service offering do you prefer over another? What do they like? What do they dislike? What should stay the same? What should change? That type of thing, so that you've got that qualitative level of information as to why they're making the decisions that they have. So then in terms of qualitative research, like I mentioned, most of the time people are really familiar with interviews or focus groups. I remember being in grad school and we couldn't wait for a new focus group opportunity to pop up because it meant that they were going to feed us like pizza or whatever. So so most of the time people have participated in a focus group at some point and they yield a lot of great information. And I think that business owners could definitely select a few trusted customers, ask them if they're open to giving the feedback and participate in an interview or focus group. I could also see an argument to invite any difficult customers that you've experienced to an interview or a focus group, and you can just frame it as an effort for you to improve your offering by gathering their feedback. Because in qualitative settings, any positive feedback that you receive, you can not only use it to improve your business and your service offering, but these can also become the foundation for quotes that you put on your website that enhance why someone should would want to work with you, or testimonials that go into your website or any printed materials, which sometimes can be hard to get when you need them. But if you're collecting them through research along the way, then you'll have that bank of support ready to post and hopefully get you new business, right? Without there being much of a lift. I starred employee interviews on this particular slide because I feel like they are a qualitative research option that is underutilized. I think depending on the type of business that you have, whether it's brick and mortar or even service-based online business, your employees have a lot of interaction with your customers, and they can provide some really useful information on service issues or just feedback that they've collected from your clients. And I don't think we should sleep on at least in involving them in sharing what their experience is to see if it's different or if it aligns with what you as the business owner also see. And then observations, I mean, observations I feel like are a good option, but they can come later on in the course of a research plan, after customer interviews, focus groups, and employee interviews have been done to really, create a foundation first. So then now the other form of primary research that we're all usually really familiar with is quantitative research or surveys. So let's say that you are a small business owner who is fortunate enough to have names and email addresses for your customers. I would say, reach out to the folks who provide you with their email address. Ask if they're interested in participating in research. There's a lot of laws now that prevent us from just taking somebody's email address and just bombarding them with surveys. You really can't do that. You've got to have people opt in for research. But once they've opted in, I think it's really awesome to be able to then send those folks unbiased questions, whether it's, monthly, quarterly, annually, at whatever interval works the best for you, and get them to just give you feedback, right? There's some free tools that allow you to leverage that, leverage gathering free input or gathering input from your clients and not have to pay for anything. Google Forms is an option that we use a lot. I know Microsoft also has a similar form. But Google Forms are great because let's say you've got a first name and an email address for your customer. That's it. It might be good to send them a quick survey, quick form to get the month and day of their birthday. So now you can reward them or at least acknowledge their birthday. And also ask them a few follow-up questions on their most recent visit or most recent interaction with you and your company. And Google Forms are free. Another way to gather feedback would be to do a customer service survey on some type of regular interval, so that way you can track or see how your customer service levels change over time. There's lots and lots and lots of free tools out there that allow you to ask, 10, 15 question surveys that are really easy to set up. I would say that if you're not 100% comfortable with just kind of like, outlining questions for a survey, leverage AI. You can go into ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, any of these tools, and just give it a prompt to say, I want to create a survey that allows me to ask my clients or gather my client feedback on such topic so that I can improve my customer service. Please ensure that the questions aren't biased, and the AI will shoot out a whole list of questions for you to be able to ask. I think that with customer service surveys, you definitely want to make sure that the survey questions are unbiased. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a survey and it's like, all right, I already know how you want me to answer this because of how you've asked the question. You don't want that. You want people to really feel comfortable that they can share their honest feedback with you. So leverage AI for that. And then the last option here, social media polls and surveys. The difference between a poll and a survey isn't really much. A survey usually has, at least 5 questions or whatever. A poll is a single question. So I think polls can be really easy to implement because they're only a single question. You can add a poll to your website using most of the tools that are available now through your what is it called? Your hosting company. If not, there are tools that will embed themselves into your website for free, or you can use a QR code to create a poll and put it on a receipt, for example, so that you can get, feedback from your clients that way, or an invoice. Then in terms of the quantitative research toolkit, like I mentioned, Google Forms, definitely a favorite of mine because it's free, really straightforward. And I love the fact that when you go to a Google form or a Microsoft form, all the questions are listed on one page. You don't have to do the whole click to advance and all that. It's just really, really easy to use. So Google Forms are starred. Same thing with customer service surveys. If there's a service delivery or service mechanism that you feel like may be declining, doing some type of customer service survey all the time will allow you to really measure and understand any dips or changes with customer service without there being that much of a lift. And then polls, again, are great because a poll is just a simple one question survey that you can add to your website, invoice, or receipt. event surveys and net promoter score surveys, website surveys. Some of those are also really, really helpful. But again, I think that starting with a Google form or a poll would be my recommendation. Once you've got a certain level of feedback that is established, then you can move on into some of the more advanced quantitative tools and options. So before we address this, are there any questions, Mark, or anything that's in the chat that we should discuss?
See, I don't see any questions.
Okay. Well, if you guys have any questions, definitely pop them in because these next few
Yeah,
slides
you
are
can
really
put them in the
just,
chat. We know what? Someone does have a question. Mr. Wilson.
My bad. I accidentally hit the button.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. You can
no
raise your
worries.
hand. You can just unmute and ask a question.
Yeah, yeah, no worries, no worries at all. So these next couple slides are really just reviews of the information that we've already talked about. But if there's a question on, okay, well, I know what I want to ask, but I don't know which tool to use. This slide is really created to help get to that point, right? Where if you know you have your question, it's there, you know what you want to collect from it. The first thing to ask yourself is, well, is there any chance? Is there any, you know, data that already exists that can help me answer this question? If the answer is yes, then desk research is where you should start. If you're really trying to understand, okay, well, I've done some desk research or I have some Google reviews that I know are really helpful, but I want to understand why these customers are making the choices that they did, then qualitative research or doing some type of focus group or interview would be where you should, where you should then move into to next. If your question, however, is more so focused on the number, like how many customers are doing X, or if I offer this new product, how many customers would be interested in it, then a survey of some sort would be where you'd want to start because it'll give you the quantity around that particular topic, how many people agree, how many disagree, and that type of thing. However, I will say that if there is a question around a completely new offering, whether it's a product or a service, and you don't currently offer this, haven't touched it at all, I would say some mixture of all of these would be the most ideal way to proceed because you at this point you want to know, will this new product or service work? And the best way to really address that is through some combination of qual, quant, and also desk research. And so when it comes to creating, a plan that I feel like small businesses would be able to establish and maintain, because that's the key part. We want to be able to establish some regular occurrence of research so that it's not something that you got to start up every time you've got a question. Start simple. Let's just start with one question, one thing that you really need to have answered so that you know how to then proceed. Whether that question is, on a new product, new service offering, something that happened in the past that you might want to bring back, just start with that question and establish that as your research basis. Choose a tool, choose the best tool to answer that particular question, gather the feedback, right? And a lot of the times when we say like gather feedback, it might not be as structured as we want it to be, but just put it in a table. Put it in a table, whether it's in Excel or Word, put it in a table and leverage AI to then make sense of it, right? I think sometimes when you do the research yourself, especially, things will start to emerge along the way. You'll start to get a feel for, okay, this is what people are really leaning into. This is what people are not leaning into, that type of thing. And I would still say, maintain that thought. But when you have all of your responses collected and organized into that table, drop it into AI, see if what the AI tool that you're leveraging, if it agrees with you, if it can highlight something that you didn't even notice or pay attention to, and then use that assistance from the AI tool to then outline what the results of the project really are saying, so that you can then make your next business decision. Because the goal here again is to just create a plan that best meets your needs, allows you to get started doing research so that you can, have the best version of your company possible. Then in terms of key takeaways, again, research does not have to be expensive. We spent a lot of time today going through a lot of research tools that are available, data sources that are free or low cost. I think that most of the tools that I talked about, I'm trying to think, I think the only one that I talked about today that might have a cost associated with it is the Zoho tool, but that cost doesn't come in until you've got multiple people on a single account, and I think up to 12 or so social media platforms. To get started, there is no cost. So definitely leverage that. You don't have to spend money to do any research. And customers are usually really willing to provide you with feedback. I mean, they already are out here in the world on social media sharing their feedback on all the different platforms. They usually are happy to respond to a survey, especially if you already have a relationship with them and they want to help you succeed or want to know that they're giving you information that will help you succeed. So they're usually really excited to participate in the survey if you make that option available to them, because using accurate, and relevant information will just allow you to make better business decisions and not, guess. Like I mentioned at the beginning, these big companies out here, some of them are doing a lot of research and some of them aren't. But in either case, they can afford to fail in a way that our businesses can't. And so let's not do something that will harm us in the long run. Because I do think that, the most successful businesses, they don't make fewer decisions, they just make better informed decisions. So let's leverage research to make sure that, we're all making the best decisions possible. And then I think that's it. Yeah. So again, thank you guys for the opportunity to talk through some research options that are free and really, really valuable. Would definitely love to stay connected with everybody. I've provided my LinkedIn information, and if you want a copy of the slides, I'll also make sure that Mark has them, or you can request them using the QR code here.
Thank you. Thank you. I tell you what, as she was talking about surveys, I'm getting ready to put one in the chat. If you guys could go through and do the evaluation survey for this session, we're going to start surveying in all of our workshops after each session just to make sure everybody's doing good. But I have a question for you. When is the best time? Like if you send surveys, I used to do a lot of surveying, and I may get a 10% response and things like that. When is the best time to do a survey?
Usually as soon after the interaction as possible, because people will. Am I still sharing or is that your screen? I think that's your screen.
No, you stop sharing. You stop
Okay.
sharing.
Yeah, you want to survey people as soon after the interaction as possible, because there's a thing that we talk about in research called the recency effect, where the most recent or the soonest after an interaction you can gather feedback, the more accurate it is, right? The longer you take to follow back up with a client or customer, it allows them to create noise or gives them room to forget some of the good things that may have happened when they were interacting with you. So you want to send that survey out as soon after the event or the interaction as possible.
I see a lot of surveys and QR codes. You go in a restaurant and stores, you're asking right at the point of contact. Now, how did we do?
Hmm. Yeah. QR
Yeah.
codes are so popular now. I remember at one point it was like
Yeah.
a dying
Yeah.
thing. It was like, what is a QR code?
Yeah.
But now I feel like people, it's easy for people to just whip out their phone and know how to use the camera to get to the website and provide their feedback. So I love QR codes. I think that they're a really good, easy way to just make it prominent. We want to hear from you. Here's the option to give us some, share your thoughts.
Does anyone else have any questions? I'm surprised. I know Mr.
Mr.
Wilson is
Wilson,
here.
hey, good morning.
Teresa? Hey,
Can you hear me?
yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, I just wanted to make a comment on these QR codes. Sometimes they're overwhelming because every time I turn around, I have to pull my phone out. And so if I don't have my phone, I'm going to miss out. On the other note, I really don't prefer to use them because there's so much data on my phone.
Mm.
So, I mean, are
So
you
you're
getting like
saying,
it's overwhelming in some
mm,
instances?
mhm. I think that a lot of people like them because they're a little easier to use than having to give someone a whole entire website address, right? Um, because that's what a QR code is, right? It's just a shortcut to get to a website. So if you don't like using them, I can definitely understand that. And I would suggest having like a shortened website then, if you're going to do a survey or something like that, have the QR code, but then also use like Bitly or one of those services that take a long website and shorten it down to just like, 10 characters or so that you give people both options to give you feedback. So are you saying, Teresa, do you prefer to type in the longer website address or just click on a link or something like that?
Sometimes the link is better.
Hmm. Yeah. Yep. I can see that.
I noticed with me working in corporate America, and we have a lot of QR codes. And so the older generation, older ones, they don't like it. It's intimidating to them. And so I can see it on their end. And so a lot of times they say, well, I don't have my phone. And they want me to type the information in for them.
Yeah. Yep. I could see that for sure.
Mhm.
Any other comments or questions? All right.
I have a
I think
question.
we're good. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, it's Jamie Green. Thank you for the information. But what if after you do your surveys and you find out that you have like a lot of negative feedback? How would you handle that? Or doing your research?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that you have to handle it really carefully, right? Because I mean, it's hard to get negative feedback, especially after you put your blood, sweat, and tears into something, and then to hear that people don't like it or aren't a fan of it. But I think that is one of those opportunities that then opens the door for some positive change. Because if the feedback is negative, and usually people are also telling you how they suggest you fix it, right? So people will say, well, I don't like this or I don't like that. Can you do X or can you do Y? And if they don't, then that opens an opportunity for you to do some additional interviews or focus groups to get at what you can do to fix it. What would be an option to fix it? A lot of the times when I've done projects where we had a lot of negative feedback, what we've done is gone back to the drawing board and come up with a whole bunch of solutions, right? Or potential solutions, and then take those solutions to the customers or the people that gave us the negative feedback to figure out, well, out of all of these, is there anything that you feel like would be a good way for us to proceed or a good next step for us? And usually people appreciate the effort that you put into trying to get them to improve their overall view. And so they'll usually, at least if for nothing else, appreciate all of the potential options that you come back with and work with you to try to figure out a solution. 'cause usually that negative feedback is coming from somewhere. They're not happy or they don't see or they don't understand something. So I think it creates an opportunity for definitely, additional discussion, if for nothing else.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for your question.
Any questions before we let Ms. McGee go? All right, I will download this and post it to our website. I will send you the link to the video recording. Thank you for being with us this morning, and I will see you next week, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Mhm.